What if I told you that Kurt Cobain didn't just struggle with depression and addiction in his final months, but was secretly communicating with deceased rock stars who were guiding him toward his own death? What if the Nirvana frontman possessed extraordinary psychic abilities that allowed him to channel musicians from beyond the grave, and that his final days were spent recording conversations with spirits that revealed the dark truth about the music industry's connection to the afterlife? This is the story of Kurt's forbidden final recording, a supernatural confession so disturbing that it was immediately suppressed by music industry executives and hidden from the world. April 3, 1994. Seattle, Washington. The Pacific Northwest drizzle cast a gray shroud over the city as Kurt Cobain sat alone in the greenhouse behind his Lake Washington home, speaking into a 4-track recorder that would capture his most extraordinary and terrifying revelation. But this wasn't just another demo session. According to recently leaked documents from the Seattle Police Department's cold case files, Kurt was recording what he called transmissions from the other side, direct communications from deceased musicians who were calling him home. The story begins with a discovery that has sent shockwaves through both the music world and paranormal research communities. In 2019, during renovation of a Seattle recording studio that had been closed since the 1990s, construction workers found a hidden safe containing audio tapes, handwritten notes, and photographs that revealed Kurt Cobain's secret life as a medium who could communicate with dead musicians. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a paranormal researcher who claims to have analyzed the audio before it was confiscated by unknown parties, describes what she heard. Kurt's voice on these recordings was different from anything I'd heard in his music. He was calm, focused, almost otherworldly. He was having actual conversations with voices that responded to his questions, voices that identified themselves as Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, and other rock legends who had died young. Kurt's psychic abilities allegedly manifested during his teenage years in Aberdeen, Washington, but intensified dramatically after Nirvana's breakthrough success. According to his private journals, discovered alongside the recordings, Kurt began experiencing what he called frequency visions, supernatural encounters with deceased musicians who appeared to him during moments of creative inspiration. In a journal entry dated September 1993, Kurt wrote, "They come to me when I'm playing guitar, when the music reaches a certain frequency. It's like tuning into a radio station from another dimension. Jimmy was here again last night. He told me that the music doesn't die with the musician. It creates a bridge between worlds. The dead musicians are still playing, still creating, still trying to communicate with the living." The journals reveal that Kurt's famous struggles with depression and addiction were amplified by his constant exposure to supernatural phenomena. He described being visited by the spirits of musicians who had died from overdoses, suicides, and accidents, all of whom shared their experiences of death and what lay beyond. But Kurt's most disturbing visions began in late 1993, when he started experiencing what he called death harmonics, musical frequencies that seemed to come from beyond the grave. These weren't just random sounds, but complex musical compositions that Kurt claimed were being transmitted by deceased musicians who were trying to prepare him for his own transition to the afterlife. The audio recordings, according to Martinez's analysis, capture Kurt describing these supernatural musical experiences in extraordinary detail. He talked about hearing entire symphonies composed by dead musicians, songs that had never been recorded during their lifetimes but were being performed in what he called the Eternal Concert Hall. He said the music from the other side was more beautiful and powerful than anything possible in physical form. Kurt's supernatural experiences intensified during Nirvana's final tour in early 1994. Band members and crew reportedly noticed him having animated conversations with invisible presences, writing down musical notations that seemed to come from nowhere, and playing guitar parts that sounded unlike anything he had ever created. Chris Novoselic, Nirvana's bassist, has never publicly commented on these allegations, but sources close to the band claim that Kurt's behavior during the final tour was increasingly erratic and otherworldly. He would disappear for hours and then return with new songs that sounded like they had been written by multiple people, one anonymous crew member allegedly revealed. He kept talking about the Council, a group of dead musicians who were teaching him about the true nature of music and death. Kurt's approach to supernatural communication was uniquely musical. According to his notes, He discovered that certain guitar tunings and amplifier settings could create frequencies that facilitated contact with deceased musicians. He called this technique death metal, not in the traditional sense of the musical genre, but as a method of using metal instruments to communicate with the dead. In his private writings, Kurt described the process. Music is the universal language that transcends death. When I play certain combinations of notes at specific frequencies, it opens a doorway between dimensions. The dead musicians can use these sound waves to communicate, to share their music, and to guide living musicians toward their own spiritual awakening. The breakthrough came in March 1994, when Kurt allegedly made direct contact with what he called the 27 Club, the spirits of musicians who had died at age 27, including Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison. According to his final recordings, these spirits had been waiting for Kurt to join their eternal band, and they were actively encouraging him to cross over to the other side. Jim Morrison came to me tonight, Kurt allegedly recorded just days before his death. He told me that 27 is the frequency of transformation, the age when musical souls are ready to transcend physical existence. He said that dying at 27 isn't a curse, it's a calling. The greatest musicians aren't meant to grow old in the physical world. We're meant to join the eternal symphony where our art can reach its true potential. Dr. Sarah Kim, a musicologist who has studied the intersection of music and consciousness, believes that Kurt's experiences may have been genuine encounters with what she calls musical consciousness fields. There's growing evidence that music creates lasting patterns in the quantum field that surrounds us. It's possible that the creative consciousness of deceased musicians could persist in these fields and be accessed by sensitive individuals like Kurt. Kurt's recordings reveal that the deceased musicians shared detailed information about the afterlife that was consistently focused on music and creativity. They described a realm where consciousness could create and perform music without the limitations of physical instruments or human vocal cords. They spoke of eternal collaboration between souls, of music that could affect reality itself, and of a cosmic symphony that all consciousness contributed to after death. Janis told me that death is like the ultimate acid trip, Kurt allegedly recorded. She said that consciousness expands beyond all boundaries, that you can feel the music of the spheres, that every emotion becomes a song and every thought becomes a melody. She said that the pain of physical existence is just the tuning process, getting our souls ready for the cosmic jam session. The most disturbing aspect of Kurt's final recordings was his description of what the spirits told him about the music industry. According to his notes, the deceased musicians warned him that the commercial music business was actively suppressing the spiritual power of music, turning it into mere entertainment rather than the consciousness-expanding force it was meant to be. They told me that the industry executives know about the power of music to connect with other dimensions, Kurt allegedly recorded. They deliberately promote music that keeps people trapped in lower frequencies, that prevents them from accessing the higher consciousness that real music can unlock. They're afraid of musicians who can bridge the gap between worlds, who can use their art to awaken people to the truth about consciousness and death. Kurt's final recording, made just hours before his death, allegedly captures his preparation for what he called the ultimate gig, his transition to the afterlife where he would join the eternal band of deceased musicians. "I can hear them calling me," he recorded. "The music is so beautiful, so perfect. I'm ready to leave this broken world behind and join the cosmic symphony. My voice will be stronger on the other side. My music will reach people in ways it never could while trapped in physical form." The official record states that Kurt Cobain died by suicide on April 5, 1994, at his Seattle home. His body was discovered by an electrician who had come to install a security system. But according to the suppressed recordings, Kurt's death was not an act of despair but a conscious choice to join the supernatural collective of deceased musicians who had been calling him home. Within days of Kurt's death, reports began surfacing of supernatural phenomena connected to the musician. Recording studios in Seattle reported unexplained equipment malfunctions that produced sounds resembling Kurt's voice. Radio stations received mysterious broadcasts containing previously unreleased Nirvana songs. Fans visiting Kurt's grave reported hearing guitar music that seemed to come from underground. The most compelling evidence comes from documented recording sessions where musicians claim to have channeled Kurt's spirit. Producer Jack Endino, who worked on Nirvana's early albums, has reportedly captured audio of what sounds like Kurt's voice providing guidance during recording sessions, though these tapes have never been released publicly. Tommy Chong, a musician who claims to have attended seances featuring Kurt's spirit, describes the experience. Kurt came through with incredible clarity and power. He wasn't sad or angry like you might expect. He was excited, energized. He talked about the music he was creating on the other side, about collaborating with Hendrix and Morrison on compositions that could never be performed by living musicians. He said death had liberated his creativity in ways he never imagined. Modern research into consciousness and creativity has begun to validate some aspects of Kurt's alleged experiences. Studies of musicians' brain states during peak creativity show unusual patterns of neural activity that some researchers interpret as evidence of consciousness accessing information from beyond normal sensory experience. Dr. Michael Hayes, a neuroscientist who studies musical consciousness, suggests that Kurt's experiences may represent genuine phenomena that science is only beginning to understand. There's growing evidence that musical creativity involves consciousness accessing information from quantum fields that exist beyond individual brains. Musicians like Kurt, who were extremely sensitive to these fields, may have been able to perceive and interact with patterns of consciousness that persist after death. The implications of Kurt's revelations extend far beyond the music industry. If his experiences were genuine, they suggest that consciousness survives death and that deceased individuals can continue to create and communicate through sensitive living people. His descriptions of the afterlife as a realm of eternal creativity and collaboration offer a profoundly different perspective on death and human potential. But perhaps the most profound aspect of Kurt's final message wasn't about death or the afterlife, but about the transformative power of music itself. According to his recordings, the deceased musicians consistently emphasized that music was humanity's most direct connection to divine consciousness, and that true musicians served as bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds. Kurt's alleged final words, recorded just before his death, were a message of hope and transformation. "Don't mourn for me when I'm gone. I'm not ending. I'm beginning. The music I create on the other side will reach people in ways my earthly music never could. Death is just changing instruments, moving from guitar to pure consciousness. The song never ends. It just finds new ways to be heard." The truth about Kurt Cobain's supernatural experiences may never be fully known. The recordings and documents that could prove his claims remain suppressed or have disappeared entirely. But his alleged revelations about music, consciousness, and the afterlife continue to inspire musicians and spiritual seekers around the world. Today, as researchers explore the connections between music, consciousness, and quantum physics, Kurt's experiences seem less like the fantasies of a troubled mind and more like genuine insights into the nature of creativity and existence beyond physical death. His story suggests that music may be far more than entertainment. It may be humanity's most direct method of communicating with the eternal dimensions of consciousness. What do you think? Could Kurt Cobain have truly possessed the ability to communicate with deceased musicians? Could his descriptions of the afterlife as an eternal concert hall be genuine revelations about what awaits creative souls after death? Are there forces within the music industry working to suppress the spiritual power of music? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story has changed how you think about music, creativity, and consciousness, make sure to subscribe for more forbidden revelations that were never meant to reach the public.